Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Today is Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. This is live stream 757. Yeah, 757. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Was there a 757? No, 777, 747, 707. I don't know. Was there a 757? Yeah, I think there is. 757. I don't know. I'm just so used to flying on the small, like 767s all the time when I would, be traveling around the country, flying back to the Chicagoland area or Indiana when I was out there as well. Anywho, if this is your first time visiting, let me point out, super casual, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And following that up with a look at a tabletop gaming release. Tonight, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Pathfinder Secrets of Magic spell cards from Paizo Inc. There are, I believe, 400 cards in this box, and we are going to take a look at only one of them. We'll take a look at a few. We're not looking at all 400, but we will look at a few. So, of course, these are spell cards for the Secrets of Magic supplement that came out not too long ago, I must say. So, if you are kind of hanging out because you want to see those spell cards, let me point out that the first portion of the show is devoted to the tabletop gaming news. So, if you're watching live, kick back, relax, enjoy yourself. And there's no hurry. Be about 30 minutes, maybe a little less than 30 minutes today, because the news is a little shorter than usual today. The news pieces, I should say. So around 25, 30 minutes, we'll be jumping in. Now, if you happen to be watching the dispatch at least a half hour or more after the stream ends, there will be timestamps. So you can actually go into the show notes, click on timestamps, and jump ahead if you want to kind of skip over the news. Also, depending on what device you are watching on, you might actually have those timestamps right on the timeline of the video itself. So don't complain to me. It's like, I had to wait 25 minutes before I got to see those spell cards. Remember, I can explain it to you. I cannot understand it for you. I'm a little salty today. Not terribly, just a little bit. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. Will not only let you know when the dispatch streams live, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings, 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. Also tell you when I upload other videos, such as today's review of... I guess I can grab the wrong book. I swear these old school essential books look so similar. It's just a black book. You can reach for it. So I grabbed the Classic Rules tome, but that's not what I reviewed today. Today I reviewed the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Player's Tome. So if you have not had a chance to take a peek at that yet, and if you're curious about Advanced Fantasy for OSE, give it a peek. Give you a hint, I really like it. I really love the classic fantasy book. And I got to say, I think I like the Advanced Fantasy a little better. Just because there's more to it. I mean, yes, granted, it is 2 books as opposed to 1 book, which is what you would get with classic fantasy. But I just love all the advanced D&D stuff that's kind of ported over onto the basic expert skeleton. Really like that a lot. I think it's pretty cool. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, it's the live stream. So that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you do have to be a subscriber for a minimum of 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman. Yes, the Madman himself, one of our chat moderators, by the way. So behave. 2 first 5 trioxins here, as well as John Vogel saying Happy War Game Wednesday. But we're not looking at a war game tonight. No, we are not looking at a war game. We're looking at a role-playing game release. Oh, accessory, I guess we'll say. All right. How about we jump on into the news, get things cooking, because coming this July from AEG is Wormholes. And here's just a wee bit of info about the game. In a peaceful galaxy, a new technology has been invented, wormholes. They allow ships to warp from one point to another and open up countless possibilities for commerce and travel. As the captain of a passenger spaceship, newly equipped with a wormhole fabricator, you can make some serious space bucks by building a robust network of wormholes. Link the farthest reaches of space while delivering passengers to become the most successful captain in this golden age of spacefaring. It's time to bend space and go fast. Players collect passengers from planets, each of whom have specific destinations they aim to reach. However, this pick up and deliver can be quite different once you establish wormholes between different points of the galaxy. And like any good business, your service can be used by other players at the cost of a few victory points. Wormholes will be for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up. It's going to play in around 45 to 60 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it arrives this summer. Yes, it is a July release for Wormholes. When I went to the special kind of like press get together for AEG at Gen Con, there was a little bit of discussion about Wormholes, but not much. In fact, even though I only have 2 images to share with you, that's 2 images more than I had back at last Gen Con. So this seems like this is probably a lightweight pickup and delivery game, but it could be kind of cool as well. So speaking about being captains, the board game Seas of Havoc is entering its final hours on Kickstarter for Rock Manor Games. Here's what I know. In Seas of Havoc, players take on the role of a unique captain of a ship in a naval combat game where players are competing for the most renown. Players can gain renown for discovering shipwrecks and battling it out on the high seas. Seas of Havoc is a naval skirmish game for 1 to 5 players where you captain a ship and engage in battle through the use of a deck of cards that dictate your ship's movement and cannon fire. Each player begins with a unique deck of movement options designed by the ship that they've chosen and special abilities dictated by the captain they've selected to command it. Players then compete to gain the most infamy by recovering shipwrecks and battling it out on the high seas. The game is split between a combat phase on the high seas and an island phase, where players send out their skiffs to worker placements to gain resources, improve their decks, repair, and upgrade their ship. During the combat phase, players will play out a hand of cards to maneuver their ship, navigating obstacles, searching shipwrecks, and firing cannons at their opponents. Multi-use cards offer options as the battle unfolds, and card bonuses reward smart play. There is a short Kickstarter video. Well, actually, I think this one's about 2 minutes long, so not as short as it usually is. But let's kick back and give this video a peek. Oh my gosh, I forgot to set the video up today. Duh. Hey,
The Borderlands Chamber of Commerce welcomes you to the 219th annual Raves of Chaos Festival. Come explore the keep's famous entertainment.
Among the archipelagos, isles grow tide and swell erratic. Strange winds and stranger waters, as storms of sails are gathered. The blast of guns, the haze of smoke, which ships are smashed and shattered. Chaotic clashing, steadfast souls on the infamous seas of havoc. Chaotic clashing, steadfast souls on the infamous seas of havoc.
Seas of Havoc is a naval combat game that puts you in command of your ship using a deck of cards which you modify over the course of the game. Select your ship and captain, each with unique starting cards, yielding a variety of starting decks to command. Will you assign the treasure hunter to the swift Zebek, or choose the merchant to pilot the versatile sloop of war? Each round begins with the island phase. Place workers to acquire resources. Upgrade your ship and purchase new cards for your deck. In the sea phase, hoist your anchor and set sail into battle. Using your available ship movements, you must maneuver your vessel into firing range of the enemy. Fire! Rain fire on the opposition with your broadside cannons. Landing hits will gain you infamy and damage your opponents. Compete to be the most infamous captain by attacking opponents. Build your deck, chase shipwrecks full of treasure, and upgrade your ship. Seas of Havoc, now on Kickstarter.
there we have Seas of Havoc. It is for, there we go. It is for 1 to 5 players, ages 13 and up. Plays in 45 to 75 minutes. This project is over 800% funded. You can reserve a copy of the base game and the free Sea Monster expansion, plus unlock stretch goals, for a $65 pledge. Or you can grab all that, plus the additional Buried Treasure expansion for an $89 pledge through this Friday, February 25th. Expected delivery is February of next year. It's going to be kind of interesting. The one thing that I would be a little curious about is it appears that you have to use movement cards during the combat in order to move your ship. And I don't know if I'm super keen on that. Or it's like, if I don't have a movement card in my hand, I can't make the move I want. So you might allow somebody to cross your T, which you would always avoid like the plague. So it's going to be an interesting game. I'm not sure. Callahan Klatt, as well as Bane 122 and Melwinius from York, who we have not seen in a bit, have popped on into chat. I see Bane 122 is like, I've got some questions about the new Old School Essentials Kickstarter. And of course, you've already seen what my next news piece is. So maybe I'll be able to answer your questions. Because the Kickstarter to bring a new print run of the Old School Essentials Classic Fantasy and Advanced Fantasy box sets has launched for Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral. Here's the scoop. Old School Essentials is an award-winning role-playing game of fantastic adventure, monsters, and magic published by Exalted Funeral and Necrotic Gnome. Players delve into forbidden crypts and forsaken ruins, explore haunted forests and perilous mountain ranges, sail the high seas in search of lost lands, recover fabulous treasures, and unearth secrets of ancient magic. Light, easily modified. All right, Jeff, how about English? Light, easily modified rules put the focus of play on shared imagination, improvisation, and fun. Modern formatting and layout make the game easy to learn and a breeze to reference during play. Durable, deluxe quality, sewn binding hardcover books are filled with evocative old school art. Nearly 50 years on from its birth in the 1970s, the original fantasy role-playing game has gone through many editions, from first to fifth, plus the others. Doesn't even mention the others. Just says 1E to 5E. What about OD&D, Basic, and of course, the skeleton that this game is built on, Basic and Expert. Anyway, all these editions have had their own unique feel, play style, and rules twists. Each edition has its fans, but for many players, the flavor of the 70s and 80s editions is incomparable. Yeah, you can count me in on that. Old School Essentials brings back the rules and feel of those early editions, presenting them in a modern, easy-to-use style. Want to take your game to the next level? The Old School Essentials Advanced Expansion Set adds reams of new classes, options, monsters, and magic inspired by the weird and wondrous 1970s Advanced Edition. First edition AD&D is essentially what they're saying there. Now, you can score each of these box sets for a $60 pledge. You can get both box sets for a $100 pledge through March 25th. Expected delivery is this October. There is no Kickstarter video. I was kind of surprised. It's like I was a little surprised that, I guess because it was part of the live show, maybe that's why Gavin Norman didn't use our interview that we did last month. I should reach out to him, tell him, hey, if you want, I can cut the interview as a separate video and give it to him. Because we talked about the Kickstarter at length. So I'm surprised that wasn't even like a link to it. In fact, the videos are all like actual plays, which I've got a question for those of you in chat, as well as folks who watch after the fact, about actual plays. But we'll get to that after the news. Anyway, do want to mention that if you place your order, if you pledge in, well, I think this launched at noon Chicago time. Maybe it's 11 o'clock Chicago time. This is already well past. It's funded in the first hours. So if you happen to make your pledge and you do it for, I want to say it's both boxed editions, you're also going to get, if you do it in the next 24 hours, you're going to get an exclusive t-shirt that looks pretty cool that they shared that. And you get the second issue of Carcass Crawler, which is the official OSE zine, which we took a peek at the first issue that looked kind of interesting. I haven't reviewed it yet, but it had some interesting new classes and options and stuff like that in it as well. So you get that free. Now, if you pledge tomorrow, like after 24 hours, all you get is the free issue of Carcass Crawler, and it's the physical issue. After that, it's just, now there are stretch goals. And I know Bane 122 had some questions. They're kind of curious what's changed in this. This is what I know from my discussion with Gavin Norman previously. I don't believe outside of any major, errors or grammatical errors or something like that. Nothing is changing in these books outside of the artwork. Now, one thing I do notice is on the classic fantasy box, that is new artwork. That's different artwork than was on the previous box set. And then the advanced fantasy is the same artwork as on the referee's tome for advanced fantasy. So I'm assuming that the advanced fantasy box had different artwork previously. So you can see the artwork right now. The actual books will have new artwork on the covers. So that's why you'll see some of them have a little question mark. It's like they don't have the artwork yet. So that's what that is. So outside of that, I don't believe anything is changing. Now, there are some stretch goals but they're all digital. And this is something that Gavin mentioned when we had the interview, that the stretch goals and that were all going to be digital because they didn't want to slow down the production of the box sets by, adding all these other items to it, like print items to this. So there are new adventures and there are new classes. So there are new classes like for advanced fantasy, which of course you can use them for classic. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's not like the old days where basic expert is different than advanced D&D. That's not how it works. So there are some new items. There's some new tweaks as far as classes and adventures, but as far as the actual content in the books, it is not going to be different unless it is some sort of error in printing or grammar is what I pretty much know. So Bane 122 says, okay, cool. So really not missing anything by not having the old printings. No. So I know there are people out there who are going to say, Gavin Norman and Necrotic Gnome, it's just another money grab, blah, blah, blah. It's not a money grab because people want these. They want these box sets. They sold out of the previous print run of these box sets. So I don't see where people are like, oh, it's a money grab. Most people already have the box sets, are not going to back this simply for new artwork. That's not going to happen. So yeah, I thought it was kind of silly how there's some grumbling out there. Oh, it's a money grab. No, it's not. Because if you go on the secondary market and you look at the price for the box sets, they're going, well, I saw Classic Fantasy at one point was at $300. I was like, geez. Well, mentioned here in the U.S., if you were going to get both box sets, I want to say the shipping cost is $25. So shipping is not included with your pledge. Got to be very honest, I have not pledged for this yet. I got to be honest, I'm a little bit on the fence because I already own the collected books. So I'm kind of like, on one hand, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'd like to have these. And then on the other, I'm like, can I really, can the gaming gang afford shelling out $125 for this? Probably not. Unfortunately, because I really dig OSE. As I mentioned before, and I'll mention it as we wrap up tonight's show, I just posted my review for the Advanced Fantasy Players Tome today. Super, super, super fun system in my opinion. But then again, I grew up with Advanced D&D, so I'm partial. Okay, enough of that Kickstarter. Let's move on to a money-saving deal, because there's a bundle of holding which is nearing its end of its money-saving run. And here's what I know on the deal you get with Savage Worlds Hellfrost Adventura. From the Frozen Wastes, we've thought out our September 2015 Hellfrost Essentials Bundle, the first of 2 offers now in progress, featuring Hellfrost, the epic fantasy tabletop role-playing campaign set in a land where winter threatens the world. Published by Triple Ace Games, Hellfrost is one of the most admired and popular settings created for Pinnacle Entertainment's best-selling Savage Worlds role-playing game rules. If you're new to the setting, start with this big bundle of PDFs that give you everything you need for a complete campaign in the icebound landscape of Rassilon. For just $12.95, you get all 5 titles in this revived offers starter collection with a retail value of $50 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Hellfrost Player's Guide, Matters of Faith, Arcane Lore, the Heroes and Villains Compendium, and the Organization Guide. If you pay more than the current threshold price, $25.92, you'll level up and also get this revival's entire bonus collection with 6 more titles worth an additional $87, including the Hellfrost Bestiary and Creature Guide, the Gazetteer, Encounters Book 1, Legendary Endeavors, and the Hellfrost Game Master Screen and Journeys Insert Booklet. These savings run only through Monday, February 28th. Don't forget, 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this offer's pandemic-related charity, Direct Relief. I know nothing about this. I want to say back in 2015 when this bundle of holding was offered, I shared a news piece about it back then, but I do not know. In fact, okay, so here I have to chuckle now as I look over at chat. I was going to say, hey, we should ask the madman, because he's our Savage Worlds expert in chat. How is this? And he's like, how did I miss this? It's like, yes, please. So maybe the madman can tell us what I mean, obviously enough, it's a fantasy role-playing game setting, and it's, the Frozen Wastes or something like that. It's called Hellfrost for a reason. It's like you got Frostgrave. It's cold. So not a bad deal. Plenty of goodness. There's also a Hellfrost Atlas bundle of holding, and I believe that is more along the lines of gazetteers, maps, things like that. I didn't take a real hard look at it simply because this is the bundle that's got all the role-playing goodness in it. William Stearns has joined us in chat. Welcome aboard. Got a good chat going so far tonight. My final news piece, now available in print and PDF, is Hard Boiled Mystery, Mayhem, and the Macabre from Fat Goblin Games. Yes, I like to say macabre as opposed to macabre. And the reason why I say it like that is because I'm a big fan of the old CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And that's how E.G. Marshall always pronounced it. Macabre, not macabre. Tomato. Anyway, here's the scoop. Not every knight rides a horse and wears armor. Using the Versus M engine created by Philip Reed, Hard Boiled is a role-playing game of the 1930s and 40s pulp detective action where you play regular folk who have decided to fight back against criminal elements running wild in your city. But there's more to fighting for justice and safe streets than picking up your hat and gun and taking on the kingpins and their thugs. You'll need to beat your enemies at their own game because the rot reaches the corridors of power. Can you stay true to your principles even when those you love and protect are threatened? Or will you spiral down into a nihilistic pit of bitterness and blood? Hardboiled is a complete role-playing game using the Versus M engine, a rules-light and card-based system that's easy to learn and fast to play. Even novice gamers will have no problem creating interesting characters, learning the rules, and starting a game. All you need are 2 decks of regular playing cards and a few friends. The book contains everything you need to get started, including straightforward rules to get you into the game in a flash, new rules to determine your character's personal code, a complete listing of archetypical criminals, easy rules to help you create your own underworld gangs, different styles of play, classic, detective pulp, or noir, gritty moral ambiguity. Yes, nothing like that gritty moral ambiguity to my role-playing game characters. There are plenty of adventure hooks to get you cleaning up your city in style. You can score the 140-page hard-boiled softcover black and white book. It's got to be black and white. Can't have color. Come on, this is detective noir. It's got to be black and white. Anyway, you can pick up that softcover black and white book for $19.99, or just grab the PDF alone for $9.95 over at Drive-Thru RPG. Actually, to be honest, I think the softcover is $19.95. I may have typed that wrong. Then again, it might be. I don't know. Perkins Dearborn has joined us in chat. Sweet. Like I said, we've got a good chat going. William Stern says Savage Worlds is their go-to game after Old School Essentials. Hellfrost is a decent setting. There is a lot of content for it, I can tell you that much. No doubt about that, because I had to go in search of larger images of the book covers for the news piece, because what they had on Drive-Thru RPG were pretty small. And I noticed on Drive-Thru RPG there were tons of Hellfrost releases out there. I was like, holy cow. I was like, this must be one of the best supported Savage Worlds settings there are. All righty. So Melwinius says they only know 2nd edition D&D. So there's some discussion of what people like to play. Perkins had mentioned that Hardboiled looks like it'd be a great resource to slot into with Cthulhu. Well, it did mention the macabre, so there must be some supernatural aspects in the rule book, even though it didn't seem to be the focus of the sell sheet info. Don't know. Madman says they've heard good things about Hellfrost. So that is the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Keep in mind, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you appreciate thegaminggang.com, if you like what we do, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda by visiting paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And thank you very much to everyone out there for using the Drive-Thru RPG links, as well as paypal.me. Much, much appreciated. So I mentioned during the news, I was kind of curious about actual plays. And what I'm curious about is if you are in the air about picking up a role-playing game that, yeah, maybe you've done a little bit of research about, you've maybe seen a couple of reviews, or maybe the setting really appeals to you and you're like, oh, yeah, I could run the hell out of that. Do you watch actual plays to make a buying decision? I don't think people do. So I thought it was a little bit odd that the Old School Essentials Kickstarter has like 4 or 5 actual play videos on it. I got to be honest, I don't know. Tell me if you're watching live and, comment. Let me know. Do you use actual plays? Do you watch actual plays to help you make a buying decision? If you're watching after the live stream ends, let me know in the comment section. I'm kind of curious. I don't think people do, but I could be absolutely wrong, like I am on many other things. So, yes. Callahan Klatt says they like using basic role-playing adjacent systems. They're running an Open Quest 3E game. I'm not familiar with Open Quest. I would have to take a guess that is that sort of a Rune Quest SRD? Open gaming license for Rune Quest? I don't know. So 245 Trioxin says they do. That there's a really good one called New Game Who This. I've heard of that. So we've got that. This about 92 has swung in. William Stern says they watched a play for Monster of the Week and did buy it, but never before or after. So I guess one time there. Flaming Heron says, yeah, I probably don't care about actual play videos because I base my purchases on the setting and system. That's what I think most people do. Melwinia says, nope, I do not decide for a tabletop roleplay game by watching play videos. 245 Trioxin says live plays are really dependent on the participants. See, that's why I don't think people make buying decisions based on actual play. It's also one of the reasons why I don't think Critical Role, and once again, I'm not knocking Critical Role. People think I hate the show. And I have to always constantly say, I don't watch the show. I got nothing against the show or anybody involved with it. It's just, that's not how a role-playing game is around your table. That's all I ever say, right? There are a lot of people out there who think Critical Role has been this huge boon to Dungeons and Dragons and has brought in tons and tons of new gamers. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's as many as people have been led to believe, is what I guess I want to say. So, So far it does seem that most people, I always thought people watch actual play for the entertainment value of it. To get a better feel for how a game master might run a game. Now, I have watched some actual plays, and I'm not going to name what they are. I already told you it's not Critical Role. And they aren't going to be like big popular ones. But I've stumbled across stuff, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to check that out. And I got to be honest, I've thought the game masters were just god-awful. Just thought they were just god-awful. And it's sort of like, I don't know if it's because they know the camera's on, kind of thing. And yes, of course, to be a good game master, you have to be a little hammy. You can't be like really shy and, reserved. Yeah, you got to be able to kind of sell it. Perkins says they don't use actual play videos to make those kind of decisions either. They tend to grab the PDF first take a look at it and decide if they want the print version. Callahan says, yes, OpenQuest is a simplified version of RuneQuest as an open game license. Okay. So I kind of thought it might be. Perkins said they watched Will Wheaton's channel to see how new board games ran. I don't even know if that's still around. Tabletop. They bought Mice and Mystics based on what they saw in that show. Callahan says they use actual plays for certain systems depending on the audience. But they use actual plays to gauge a system. Oh, okay, cool. Fleming here says it's all the spectacle. Yes, the spectacle. All right. So yeah, there's more people pointing out, yeah, for board games and that, yes, they'll look at that. Well, they're not usually actual play. They're more like how to play videos. Because I think actual play videos of board games are pretty boring. So, because one of the things you can't, people don't discuss like their mindset or, you know, what led them to make whatever decision in a board game. So you're just seeing people go, okay, I'm doing this. Next player's turn. So yeah, I do this. I do that. But how to play, completely different kind of videos. All righty. So we are going to be taking a look at Pathfinder, Seekers of Magic spell cards in just a moment. But first, it's time for a short intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies. Everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 8 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So, I could go for a little ice cream right now. I don't know why. Perkins says, I need some popcorn and refreshments. Yes. So there's still some discussion about how people make their buying decisions. Malwinius points out for board games, they like to watch channels. They actually bought Tank Duel because of my review. And they also picked up Atlantic Chase based on the coverage I did. So William asked, can someone direct me to the refreshment center? Yeah, isn't that funny? It's the refreshment center. It's like nowadays people just say, yeah, candy counter, you know, concessions. Where's the concessions at? Refreshment center. All right, then it's time to move on because today, as I mentioned, I'm going to be taking a first look at Pathfinder Secrets of Magic spell cards from Paizo Inc. This includes 400 spell cards. It does carry an MSRP of, hey, I got rid of the other one. Why is that popping up? Boy, I tell you, I specifically made sure there was only one image. And it's showing two. Sometimes I really wonder, this software just doesn't seem to like save changes that I make sometimes. As well, that's also what happens when you're trying to get everything ready 10 minutes before the stream starts. Anyway, this does include 400 spell cards. It carries an MSRP of $59.99. You can grab the PDF for $38.49. Kind of an odd, amount. Not sure where they came up with that amount, but got to be honest, if you were going with this for the small difference in price, I guess it is $21. I guess that's a bigger difference than I originally thought. All right, so anyway, MSRP $59.99, PDF $38.49. That said, let's swing on in, because here we've got the Secrets of Magic spell cards. Let's get the shrink wrap off. So, of course, this contains the spells that are in Secrets of Magic. Easy peasy. Of course, we're not going to look at all 400 of these cards. We're only going to look at a handful. But as you can see, it looks like we've got these broken up into 3 packs. We have a little cardboard insert, so we could actually add more cards to this. I would have liked to have seen a bit of maybe some dividers that were included with this. Because I would think it's going to be a little tough to keep these all separated. Because I would expect you would separate them by type. So here we've got primal. Okay, so those are all primal. Okay, so this is the first pack because it's got the instructions on them. Perkins says that is a chunk of coin. That 400 cards is a lot. I try to tell people all the time who are interested in getting into role-playing games. And when I talk about getting into role-playing games, I talk about people who are looking to become game masters. And I try to explain to them all the time that this is as we're taking a look at an accessory from the fine folks over at Paizo Inc., who are kind enough to provide me with these review copies. But I try to tell people all the time, don't get sucked into buying all these things. Now, once you're established and you really have found a system that you enjoy and your players enjoy, and you're going to stick with it, then yes, by all means, make life easier for you and your players by picking something like this up. But I think there are far too many gamers out there who have that oddball FOMO, where it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get everything. It's almost like they need to be a completist for a role-playing game system that they actually haven't sunk their teeth far enough into yet. I ran across an article. I know I'm going off on a tangent here. I ran across an article. I'm trying to remember what it was from. I think it was from Wired. Because now, of course, we have all these online magazines who had absolutely zero interest in board games and role-playing games forever, who now like to publish these almost clickbaitish articles about board games, role-playing games. And you'll see stuff like where it's like, oh, top board games for couples. And it'll be like bullshit. It'll be like Settlers of Catan. It's like, get out of here. It's like, what are you nuts? It's like, it's one of the best 2-player games. No, it's not. It's like, hey, write me up an article. And it's like, yeah, okay. So let me take a look at what are like the top 20 board games. Oh, okay. So this one plays with 2 players or more. So yeah, that's one of the best for couples. Anyway, it was the article was from somebody who they're going to be a dungeon master, and what a complete failure it was. And it was kind of funny because reading the article, it was like this person was sort of blaming the game, and it's kind of like no, you're the one who went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to create all these fantastic campaigns, and it was all going to be like homebrew stuff. And it's like, no, when you've never played, you've never run a game, you think you're going to walk in and just create a whole like world in that? No, it ain't happening, duly. All right. Anyway, so we got our instructions here. So it says this deck contains every spell from Pathfinder Secrets of Magic. Well, we already said that. The spells are sorted by tradition: arcane, divine, occult, and primal, followed by focus spells, with multiple copies of spells appearing on multiple spell lists. So every tradition is a complete set. Full text for each spell is provided whenever possible, though some longer or more complex spells have been abbreviated and include a page reference to the full spell description in Secrets of Magic. The full rules for casting spells begin on page 32 of the Pathfinder Core Rulebook. So one thing that we do not normally run across is artwork. Sometimes we'll have some, sometimes we won't. But it's all going to be the same based on tradition. So that's the little druid. So yeah, they have these various characters in Pathfinder that are like in all of their products usually. And I'm the first to point out I know almost nothing about them. Yes. Callahan and the Madman are talking about something here. I don't know. Maybe it's Savage Worlds, where Callahan says they've heard complaints that the system tends to be random in its resolution mechanics. So very swingy, no doubt. I don't know if that's Savage Worlds or not, because as I mentioned, the Madman is kind of our Savage Worlds expert in chat. So just kind of give you an example. We've got the various different cards. So some will have the back like this. And then we have the entire spell right up front. So we have Boil Blood, Blood Spray Curse. And then we have others that are like this: Bottomless Stomach. And it's continued onto the back of the card as well. So just kind of give you an idea. So they don't tend to have a lot of, I guess we'll say, visual pop. Although some do, of course, have the backing. But if the content of the spell information is longer, it is going to take up the back of the card, or otherwise you would have the artwork. But these come in really handy, and what these tend to help you out with is, and I say it all the time, so I'm like a broken record on some stuff. Personally, it is not the game master's responsibility to know what all of the player characters' spells do. Have a clue? Yes. But the player characters, it should be their responsibility to know what their characters' spells and feats and abilities and all those other things, depending, of course, on whatever system you're playing, it should be the player character's responsibilities to know the ins and outs of that. As a game master, you should have an understanding, but you got far bigger fish to fry. You got more important things on your plate. You're running the world that the player characters are involved in. So this helps out a lot. So what a lot of people will do is they'll give the players the copies of the spell cards that are spells that they have in their repertoire. And the game master will take spells that maybe they're NPCs or creatures, monsters possess, and they'll have them handy as well. So here we see these are the primal. Thundering Dominance. Yes. So there's a little talk about tunnels and trolls. I like tunnels and trolls. That's another nice old school sort of role-playing game that the mechanics are very modern. The mechanics were very modern back in the day as well. I think I just saw somebody made some mention that it doesn't ramp up. It doesn't scale well for high levels. That I completely agree with. It gets to the point there's just too many dice and things like that you're rolling in like mid to high level tunnels and trolls adventures. All right, so here we've got arcane spells. If you're curious, cardstock is nice. It's not real flimsy, as you can see. It's not flopping all over the place. So we have that. Demon form. Form of a demon. Flowing strike. Instant armor. The other spell is instant karma. Magnetic attraction. Magnetic repulsion. Mud pit. So we've got a few more. Continued from the front. Like I said, the only thing that I would think with the way this is presented is kind of sorting through these. You might want to make your own little dividers because it's probably not going to be the easiest to sit there sorting through all of these. Or what you could consider doing, I know some folks do this, although it tends to be pricier, much pricier, is you can actually go get the like inserts for a notebook where you put them in a 3-ring binder, I should say, and they're for like baseball cards. I did that with my Down in Flames planes and that before I sold all those. All right, we've got divine spells, angel form, demon form, more instant armor. So once again, some of these spells are in different traditions as well. Mimic undead. So you can see we have the name of the spell, the spell level, keywords as well, the traditions, how to cast, range, targets, duration, and then an explanation of the spell itself. Perkins says OSE Classic, the Classic Rules Tome with Ascending Armor class works really well for one-shots and getting new players into D&D. I would completely agree with you on that. All right, so we've got some more of the divine spells. Then we've got focus spells. There aren't a ton of focus spells, I don't believe. I don't seem to remember there being a bunch of them in the book. Cascade Countermeasure, Shielding Strike, Life Link Surge. The Madman's pointing out that once you understand the Savage Worlds rules, it's very easy. And I guess the Madman's had a trio of new players over the last 6 months, and they picked up on it right away. Oh, those are cantrips there. There you go. Most people can pick up on role-playing games relatively easily. I would think Pathfinder probably takes a few sessions for people to wrap their heads around because there's a lot of stuff going on. Starfinder, a little less, but still, it's pretty crunchy. Old school Renaissance stuff should be relatively easy. Especially, here's the thing that always throws me off a little bit. And if I remember correctly, I think we saw an article in the Carcass Crawler. Oh, we got some more primal spells down there. All right. Okay. So it looks like we've got the most is arcane spells, followed by primal, divine. Here's the occult. Well, maybe the occult has the most. Pretty close. The occult is pretty close to arcane. They're neck and neck. But I was going to say, like OSE that we've been talking about throughout the show. Pretty simple to get into, especially, yes, if you're using ascending armor class as opposed to attack matrices. Yeah, it should be very easy to get into. Basic role playing, like Call of Cthulhu, that is not that difficult to get into. The whole concept of, okay, this is your percentage chance of being successful is pretty easy to understand. It's only when you start getting into, which I got to be honest, I'm not overly keen on in the latest edition where it's like, oh, well, then you got hard and an extremely difficult, and you're doing, well, this is a percent of this percentage, and it's like, what? It's like, I didn't mind saying, okay, well, this is going to be pretty difficult, so it's going to be minus 20 to your skill. That, made more sense than, all right, so this is 25% of, this is 10% of. All right, so we've got all of these different spells. Like I said, 400 spell cards. I don't know how many spells there are overall. I would say we're probably looking at 340, maybe a little less than that, because there are quite a few cards that look like that the spells are taking up multiple cards. So 245 Trioxide says, you can throw people into DCC without even making characters. Yes, the funnel. You just throw a character sheet that's got like 4 or 5 characters on it. Just toss that at them. All right, come on, get in there. I'm going to do this. And then put this in. Only thing with Dungeon Crawl Classics that is a bit difficult for newbies to pick up is magic. Magic can be kind of tricky. There's a lot going on with the magic. Everything else, mighty deeds, luck, all that stuff, easy peasy. I like DCC. I think DCC is cool. I'm a fan of a lot of role-playing games. I am not one of these people where it's like, oh, you play XYZ. Poo, poo, poo. To me, that's stupid. It is. All right. So that was just kind of a quick peek at Pathfinder Secrets of Magic spell cards from Paizo Inc. I know we've been talking about a whole bunch of different stuff that's not Pathfinder related as we're taking a look at these cards, but still, we're talking about role-playing games, so there is that. So once again, a big thank you to the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. for sending me this review copy. Yes. I am going to try my best to get the second chapter of the Quest for the Frozen Flame Pathfinder Adventure Path reviewed by this weekend. Fingers crossed. Because I just shared the review of the first part yesterday. So if you are kind of curious about that, by all means, give it a peek. Give it a peek. Perkins says they'd love to be a player in someone's Dungeon Crawl Classics game if they're a good GM. See, this is where the problem comes up with being a gamer, being a player. It's tough. It's tough to play in a bad game master's game. At least it is for me. I know there are some people out there, they're like, I don't care. As long as I have an opportunity to be able to play something, I'm good. Not me. I would rather not play a role-playing game than be stuck in a role-playing game with a game master who's just awful. It's just my thing. And it's not, and I know game masters, we're all kind of, inflated egos about our own abilities to run games. What I'm talking about is when you run across game masters who aren't prepared, who think that they can just do everything, can be just seat of the pants, and they're constantly referring to materials and rule books to find a rule somewhere or a monster block someplace, and it's like, man, I got better things to do in life. Really do. Perkins says that they've almost only DM'd in games for decades. Me too. I'm the forever game master. Gosh, when was the last time I actually played as a player? Sometime in the 80s. No joke. Maybe late 80s, but it was probably the 1980s since I had an opportunity to actually play as a player in a role-playing game. Callahan says, I've heard the expression, no D&D is better than bad D&D. Yes. Because here's one of the things that, and I know we're probably going to run a little bit long, but you know me. I love talking about role-playing games. I just love talking about role-playing games. But the way I kind of see it, especially with, and this is one of the things I've talked about with Critical Role. People watch Critical Role and they watch performers present entertainment. And then they think, oh, wow, my gosh, that's how Dungeons and Dragons is. Oh, man, let's do this. And then it's like, well, that ain't how it works. Tain't it, Dooley? So, and then people become disappointed, just like people talk about the Matt Mercer effect. And we talked about this a little bit on a previous show. And I know the Madman has pointed out, it's like, hey, you know what? I've been running games since the 80s. I've never had Matt Mercer sit at my table. So he has absolutely no effect on my game. And I am 100% behind that as well. That people complain about the Matt Mercer effect because new players sit down and they're expecting the game to be like Critical Role. And of course, it's not going to be like Critical Role or Acquisitions Incorporated or any number of these entertainment actual plays. But the thing is, if you're a good game master and everybody around the table is having a really good time, nobody gives a shit about Matt Mercer. There's no Matt Mercer effect. There's your effect. The whatever your name is effect going on, because you're the one who creates that environment where everybody is having a really good time. Now, granted, there are players out there who are just, very socially awkward and probably don't want them sitting at your table, well, don't have them sit at your table. Don't allow them to ruin everybody else's fun. And you know the kind of oddballs I'm talking about, where it's like, this tends to be with like younger players, where it's like a female NPC is introduced, and there's always the one player is like, is she hot? It's like, give me a break. Like, anyway, but you know what I mean. There's usually the like the oddball you probably don't want at the table. All right. So Callahan says same there. They've been the game master for around 70% of the time. They've played RPGs. They tend to like GMing more than playing. Yeah. I you know, like I said, I haven't played in so long. And you figure back when I played, I probably hadn't played as in a role-playing game as a player since I was maybe 20. So my game masters back then weren't probably the greatest either. So Madman says they're special. They run Halloween and Christmas themed sessions. Yes, I know the Madman's mentioned that before. So Flaming Heron says, but is she hot though? Yeah. And the funny thing is, last time I heard about that, it wasn't even me running a game. It was my nephew Cameron who was running his bastardized some sort of fantasy role-playing thing without dice at during his training, the Air National Guard. And he was telling me anytime there was like, he would introduce like a female character or something like that, it was always, is she hot? All right. Perkins says the game feels too slow when they've played once or twice as a guest NPC in someone's game. Yeah, that's kind of, I would never do that. Now, I'm not above having my best friend Elliot Miller be in on some stuff as a character in the game, which I did when I was running the, we didn't get too far, but I was running my own kind of like, almost like OSE, but the adventure I was actually using to build a skeleton on top of was Rise of the Rune Lords. And there were some things going on behind the scenes that Elliot knew about. And we were actually, it went really well. It's just kids left for school and that. So that was the end of that. Perkins says they went up to Seattle and the dungeon master said the group wants to hire a cleric. I'm not sure what that means. Hey, if you were up in Seattle, you could just gone to Redmond and gone to Wizards of the Coast. Told him you wanted to hire a cleric. All right, that's it for this time out, gang. On Monday's show, I will be sharing a first look and page through of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Uber's Lake Adventures Volume 2 from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So stay tuned. We got some Whiffrip action to take a peek at. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as today's review of Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy, the Player's Tome from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral. It's good stuff, Maynard. That's it for this week. So, of course, I'll be back on Monday. As I pointed out, we'll be looking at Uber's Lake Adventures Volume 2. So, everybody enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of the week, or rest of the morning, afternoon, whatever time it is. the rest of the week as well as the weekend. It's going to be kind of cold in the Chicagoland area. Guess it's going to be cold up in through the first few days of March, looks like. Yeah, what can I tell you? Hey, at least it's not snowing. That's all that matters to me. Anyway, those of you who watch live, thank you very much. Always appreciated. If you took part in chat, hey, there you go. Bonus points, extra experience points for you because you took part in chat. Of course, I know a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch the stream live. So it really doesn't matter how you watch any of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel. Could be live, could be Memorex. All the same to me. Super appreciated because I know you got a lot of different outlets out there you can be watching videos of, and I know I can kind of be a doofus and goofball. Just me. It's how I am. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Of course, I will be back on Monday. And here's hoping each and every one of you out there gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you Monday. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.